When the world thinks of Bruce Willis, the images that come to mind are almost mythical. We see John McClane walking barefoot over broken glass in Die Hard, or the stoic, unshakable protector in The Sixth Sense. For decades, he was the archetype of invincibility. But in recent years, the headlines shifted from his box office dominance to a much more personal, heartbreaking struggle: his diagnosis with aphasia and subsequently frontotemporal dementia, FTD. While the world mourned the retirement of an icon, his wife, Emma Heming Willis, was stepping into a role she never auditioned for, one that came without a script or a director, that of a care partner. Her new book, The Unexpected Journey, is not a typical celebrity memoir filled with Hollywood gossip. It is a raw, urgent, and incredibly practical survival guide for anyone navigating the terrifying, uncharted terrain of caregiving. Whether you are caring for a spouse with dementia, an aging parent, or a child with special needs, Emma's insights transcend her celebrity status. This article dives deep into the core concepts of the book, exploring the science, the psychology, and the hard-won wisdom of a woman determined to build a roadmap where none existed. The book opens with a scene that is all too familiar to the millions of families dealing with neurodegenerative diseases. Emma describes the devastating moments she and Bruce sat in a doctor's office and received the life-altering news. The diagnosis was FTD, a cruel, specific form of dementia that attacks the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain, eroding personality, behavior, and language, often long before it touches memory. What happened next serves as the catalyst for the entire book. The doctor handed her a flimsy pamphlet, looked at her, and said, "There is nothing that can be done." Those words, "nothing can be done," are a trauma in themselves. Emma describes the physical sensation of free-falling. She walked out of that office into the parking lot with no resources, no guidance, and absolutely no idea how to manage the disintegration of the person she loved. This highlights a systemic failure in modern medicine. While doctors are excellent at diagnosing the pathology, they often fail to treat the family system that must absorb the shock. Emma wrote The Unexpected Journey to be the guide she wished she had in that parking lot, a hand to hold in the dark when the medical system turns away. One of the first and most profound shifts Emma advocates for is a change in language. Throughout the book, she deliberately chooses the term care partner over the traditional caregiver. Why does this semantic shift matter? The word caregiver implies a one-way street. It paints a picture of one person giving and the other simply taking, which can feel heavy, clinical, and isolating. It creates a dynamic of dependency that can strip the patient of dignity. Care partner, a term introduced to Emma by renowned dementia expert Teepa Snow, implies a relationship. It suggests that you are doing this with the person, not just to them. Even as Bruce's abilities decline, he remains a partner in this journey. This subtle shift restores a sense of dignity to the patient and maintains the emotional connection of the spouse or family member. It is a reminder that despite the disease, the human relationship remains the priority. We've all heard the airline safety instruction. In the event of an emergency, put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. In the context of caregiving, this often feels like a tired cliché. However, Emma argues that it is actually a biological imperative. In The Unexpected Journey, she cites sobering statistics that should serve as a wake-up call for every person looking after a sick loved one. Caregivers have a 63% higher mortality rate than non-caregivers of the same age. 30% of caregivers die before the person they are caring for. The chronic stress, the fragmented sleep, and the immense emotional toll literally dismantle the caregiver system by system. Emma writes candidly about her realization that if she ran herself into the ground, her two young daughters, Mabel and Evelyn, would effectively lose both parents, their father to FTD and their mother to burnout or illness. She realized that self-preservation is not selfish. It is an act of stewardship for the entire family. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot anchor a family if you are drowning. One of the most confusing aspects of FTD, as opposed to Alzheimer's, is that memory loss is often not the first symptom. FTD affects the social brain, the physical areas responsible for empathy, impulse control, judgment, and multitasking. Emma describes the confusion of the early days, a period she calls the slow burn. Bruce wasn't forgetting his keys or getting lost. He was becoming withdrawn. He might say things that seemed out of character or lose the thread of a conversation. Before a diagnosis, it is incredibly easy for spouses to misinterpret these behaviors as relationship issues, apathy, a midlife crisis, or even malice. The book introduces a critical medical concept that every caregiver needs to understand: anosnosia. This is not denial. Denial is a psychological defense mechanism. Anosnosia is physiological. It is a condition where the brain is physically damaged in such a way that it loses the capacity for self-awareness. The person literally cannot recognize that they are sick or that their behavior has changed. Understanding this was a massive turning point for Emma. It helped her move from frustration to compassion. She realized, he isn't giving me a hard time, he is having a hard time. By understanding the biology behind the behavior, caregivers can separate the person from the disease. When the person acts out, refuses care, or says something hurtful, it isn't a choice they are making. It is a symptom of a dying brain. This knowledge is the key to patience. Perhaps the most profound psychological concept explored in the book is ambiguous loss, a term coined by Dr. Pauline Boss. Traditional grief has a sense of finality, a death, a funeral, a closure. But dementia caregivers live in a painful gray zone. The person is physically present, but psychologically absent or altered. You are grieving a living person. You miss their humor, their protection, and their conversation, even as you sit next to them holding their hand. To survive the crushing weight of ambiguous loss, Emma learned to adopt both-and thinking. This cognitive reframing allows contradictory emotions to exist simultaneously without judgment. You can feel immense love for your partner and immense rage at the disease. You can be grateful they are alive and grieve the future you lost. You can cherish a moment of joy and feel totally exhausted. Allowing these conflicting feelings to coexist prevents the caregiver from spiraling into guilt. You don't have to be a saint to be a good care partner. You just have to be human. Emma Heming Willis is acutely aware of her privilege. She acknowledges throughout the book that she has financial resources that most families do not. However, she uses her platform to discuss a topic that carries immense stigma across all economic lines: moving a loved one out of the home. In the book, she reveals the incredibly difficult decision to eventually move Bruce to a second home nearby with 24/7 professional support. For many spouses, this feels like the ultimate failure or an abandonment of duty. Emma reframes this beautifully. She realized that trying to be Bruce's nurse while simultaneously trying to be a mother to 2 young children meant she was failing at both roles. The home environment had become one of stress, tiptoeing, and managing rather than living. By bringing in professional help to handle the heavy medical and safety aspects, Emma was able to return to her primary role, being Bruce's wife. She argues that love is not measured by whether you change every diaper or administer every pill yourself. Love is ensuring your person is safe, cared for, and treated with dignity, even if that care comes from someone else. Inspired by neurologist Dr. Richard Isaacson, Emma pivots part of the book toward prevention. Because caregivers are under chronic stress, they are at high risk for cognitive decline themselves. The book outlines actionable pillars for brain health that everyone should follow. Social connection. Isolation shrinks the brain. Maintaining friendships isn't just fun, it is medicinal. Sleep. This is the time when the brain cleans itself of plaques and toxins. It is non-negotiable. Diet. Emma advocates for the mind diet, a hybrid of the Mediterranean and DASH diets. It focuses on leafy greens, berries, nuts, and fish to reduce systemic inflammation. Movement. You don't need to run marathons, but you must move. Exercise releases neurochemicals that combat the cortisol flooding a caregiver's system. Learning. Engaging in new hobbies, Emma took up gardening and writing, builds cognitive reserve, acting as a buffer against decline. Emma is part of the sandwich generation, caring for an aging spouse while raising young children. The book offers a guide for navigating this delicate balance. She emphasizes age-appropriate honesty. Kids are incredibly perceptive. They know when the energy in the house shifts. If you don't give them the truth, they will invent a scarier version in their heads via magical thinking. The Willis family came up with a way to explain FTD to the children using the acronym itself, Fantastic Turtles Dancing. It was a way to make a terrifying medical term approachable and less scary. She also stresses the importance of modeling resilience. It's okay for kids to see their mother cry. It teaches them that emotions are safe. But it is equally important for them to see their mother pick herself up, ask for help, and find moments of joy. As the book states, you are only as happy as your unhappiest child. Ensuring the kids have a childhood separate from the disease is vital. One of the most practical sections of The Unexpected Journey is a guide specifically for the village, the friends and family watching from the sidelines who want to help but don't know how. The don'ts. Don't offer unsolicited medical advice. Asking, "Have you tried coconut oil?" is not helpful. The caregiver has likely tried everything and spoken to top specialists. Don't say, "Let me know if you need anything." This puts the mental burden on the exhausted caregiver to invent a task and ask for it. They won't do it. Don't judge their care decisions. Whether they hire help or move the patient, you are not in the arena. You do not see the 24/7 reality. The do's. Do offer specifics. "I am going to the grocery store on Tuesday. Send me your list." Or, "I am coming over to sit with him for an hour so you can nap." Do just listen. Sometimes they don't need a solution. They need to vent without being fixed. Do visit the patient. Give the caregiver a break. Even an hour of respite is gold. Do research the disease. Don't make the caregiver explain the basics of FTD to you. Google it yourself so you can come to the conversation informed. The conclusion of the book focuses on the concept of the remarkable reframe. We cannot control the tragedy that befalls us. We cannot control the progression of a disease like FTD. We can only control our response to it. For Emma Heming Willis, this meant becoming an advocate. She realized that by sharing her story, she could help thousands of others feel less alone. She talks about the helper's high, the biological boost we get from being of service to others. By turning her pain into purpose, she reclaimed agency in a situation that felt helpless. She encourages every caregiver to find their reframe. It doesn't have to be public advocacy. It can be finding joy in a cup of coffee, reconnecting with an old friend, or simply surviving the day with grace. The verdict? Is this book worth your time? Despite the obvious difference in financial resources between the Willis family and the average reader, the emotional core of this book is universal. Grief, exhaustion, and love do not care about your bank account. Emma Heming Willis has written a brave, lucid, and deeply compassionate book. It fills a specific void for those dealing with young-onset dementia, distinct from the more common Alzheimer's narratives.
It is not just a sad celebrity memoir designed to garner sympathy. It is a toolbox. For anyone holding the hand of a loved one as they slip away, the unexpected journey offers something precious: validation that you are doing a hard thing and permission to take care of yourself while you do it.